White, the West German ambassador, Mr. Bernard Oldenkot, the French ambassador, Mr. Michel Drumes, and the chargé d'affaires of Japan, Mr. Tomikawa. General Buhari briefed the envoys on the economic and foreign policies of the new administration and stressed the importance it attaches to its relations with their countries. The envoys pledged their support to the military government in all spheres. The Federal Executive Council of the new military administration has been constituted. The head of state and commander-in-chief of the armed forces, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, this afternoon at Dodon Barracks swore in the 18 ministers. Our correspondent at the Supreme Headquarters, Godfrey Odu, has the report.
The ministerial list was made public this afternoon as the 18 appointees arrived. Presiding was the head of state and commander-in-chief of the armed forces, Major General Muhammadu Buhari. Members of the Supreme Military Council, as well as the Secretary to the Federal Military Government and permanent secretaries, witnessed the ceremony which took place in the council chambers. First to be sworn in was Minister of Defense, Major General Domkat Bali, who represents Plateau State on the council. He was followed by the Minister for Federal Capital Territory, Major General Maman Batsa from Niger State. The exercise continued with Minister for Internal Affairs, Brigadier Mohamed Magoro from Sokoto State. Coming next was Minister of Employment, Labor and Productivity, Brigadier Solomon Omojoko of Ondo State. Commodore Patrick Koshoni of Lagos State was sworn in as Minister of Health, while Group Captain Samson Emeka Omerwe from Imo State took the oath as Minister of Information, Youth and Culture. Next was Lieutenant Colonel Ahmed Abdullahi of Kano State, his Minister of Communications. Following the line was the Minister of Justice, Mr. Chike Ofodile from Anambra State. Alhaji Ibrahim Yerima Abdullahi, representing Bauchi State, becomes Minister of Education, Science and Technology. Others were Alhaji Abdullahi Ibrahim of Benue State, Minister of Transport and Aviation. Dr. Abubakar Shaib of Borno, Minister of Agriculture and Water Resources. And Dr. Mahmoud Tukur Gongola State becomes Minister of Commerce and Industry. Alhaji Rilwanu Lukman of Kaduna State is Minister of Mines, Power and Steel. The Ministry of External Affairs will be handled by Dr. Ibrahim Gambari, representing Kwara State, while Dr. Onor Lakbar Suleye from Ogun State takes charge of the Ministry of Finance. The Ministry of National Planning goes to Chief Michael Sunday Adigmu from Oyo State, while Professor Tam David West of the Rivers State heads the Ministry of Petroleum and Energy. Dr. Emmanuel Nsam of the Cross River State was sworn in as Minister in charge of Works and Housing. The oath swearing ceremony this afternoon also included two top aides of the head of state. They are Alhaji Abubakar Mamu, who is Principal Secretary, and Chief Press Secretary, Alhaji Wada Abdullahi Maida. Addressing the minister shortly after, General Buhari said that the delay in constituting the Federal Executive Council was due to the deep search for the right caliber of men. He told them that the Supreme Military Council will hold them personally responsible for the failure of projects and policies in their various departments. He also made it clear that the lifestyle and performance of the ministers will be watched closely.
The appointment of ministers has taken us some time because we had to undertake a deep search for competent Nigerians of proven integrity, high sense of discipline, public probity, and transparent honesty. Your appointment is on your personal merit, and I am assured that you will possess these sterling qualities. It is necessary to restate that this administration, born out of the circumstances very well known to you all, will not tolerate fraud, indiscipline, corruption, secondomania, misuse and abuse of public office for self or group aggrandizement and such other vices which characterize the civilian administration of the past 4 years. Your immediate task as ministers would be to undertake a critical review of all major projects and programs being undertaken by your ministries, departments, and parastatals in order to determine their priority and scope, the stage of implementation, the quantum of work already done, the amount of funds committed to each project, etc. The purpose of this exercise, which should be completed and submitted to the Federal Executive Council by the end of April this year, is to ensure that our scarce resources budgeted for the execution of projects are spent most judiciously on viable projects and programs which will lift the nation from the doldrums of economic recession and have a positive impact on the socio-economic life of the common man. Another task before you is to proceed with speed to examine the adequacy of the existing structural organizations of the ministries to which you are assigned, and take appropriate steps to rationalize them to conform with the 18-ministry structure recently approved by the Supreme Military Council for the federal government. The aim of this administration is to instill discipline in public life. Consequently, the Supreme Military Council will not tolerate a situation where public office holders live in affluence while the general masses continue to wallow in abject poverty.
The ministers are expected to declare their assets within 6 weeks. Although Bendel State did not get a ministerial appointment, she is duly represented in the main machineries of government with 2 members on the Supreme Military Council and 1 in the Council of States. An indigene of that state also holds the position of Secretary to the Federal Military Government and Head of Service. Godfrey Odu, NTA News.
President Jafar Mohammed Nimeri of Sudan arrives in Lagos tomorrow on a 2-day official visit. His personal envoy, Mr. Omer Yassin, was at Dodon Barracks today to deliver a special message from the Sudanese president to the Nigerian head of state, Major General Muhammadu Buhari.
The Nigerian mass media have been urged to disseminate correct information and give positive guidance to the nation. Addressing media executives in Lagos today, the Chief of Staff Supreme Headquarters, Brigadier Tunde Diagbon, expressed disappointment with some of the stories carried by the Nigerian press. He said it was a departure from what the military government expects from them in this crucial period.
Write-ups and suggestions have not been helpful. Many seem to demonstrate a lack of understanding, even lack of sympathy for the objectives of the government which you held only 2 weeks ago. Some newspapers have gone to the extent of publishing half-truths and downright falsehoods. These are capable of creating confusion and causing dissension in the country. The change of government is not meant.
Braithwaite told newsmen that he had very useful discussions with Brigadier Idiagbon on issues of national interest. He said the talks were at his own instance, but declined comments on the pace of this administration, saying we should wait for the next few days. Asked if he would serve in the administration, Mr. Braithwaite said, and we quote, "My actions will show," unquote. It's a 2-man delegation from the Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Sar Abubakar III, has handed over a special message to General Buhari at Dodon Barracks. The content of the message delivered by the Emir of Argungu, Alhaji Muhammadu Mera, is not known. The head of state expressed his appreciation for the overwhelming support the nation's traditional rulers had given the new military administration. An NTA News correspondent in Sokoto reports that a delegation from the head of state yesterday called on the Sultan in his palace. Our correspondent reports that General Buhari assured the Sultan that the deposed president, Alhaji Shehu Shagari, is well and doing fine. He said that the armed forces did not intervene to victimize any individual or group of persons, but to rid the nation of its moral and economic decadence.
Before leaving Lagos for Togo, the United Nations Secretary General, Mr. Perez de Oquela, was at Dodon Barracks to say farewell to the head of state and commander-in-chief for the armed forces, Major General Muhammadu Buhari. Our correspondent Godfrey Odu has the details.
The visit to Supreme Headquarters today was in fact the third since the United Nations Chief Scribe arrived in the country. This third meeting with the head of state, General Muhammadu Buhari, gives added dimension to the importance which the federal military government attaches to the visit of Mr. Dekwea. The courtesy call today afforded the UN Secretary General the opportunity to express gratitude for hospitality during his stay. On his part, General Buhari pressed home some important points of their previous discussions, with particular emphasis on how the United Nations system can effectively respond to Nigeria's specific needs. Primarily, Mr. Dekweya was here for a first-hand assessment of the Sahel drought and the whole problem of food shortages. But the federal government used the opportunity to expand the scope, covering Nigeria's particular problems. The head of state gave a private dinner last night in honor of the UN scribe, at which Mr. Dekweya spoke highly of Nigeria's contributions and continued commitment to the United Nations. According to the External Affairs Minister, Dr. Ibrahim Gambari, Mr. Dekweya's visit afforded his ministry an opportunity for thorough discussions with a highly knowledgeable person on a variety of issues, including Namibia and disarmament. He described Mr. Dekweya as a man who has shown great sympathy and sensitivity to Nigeria's specific needs.